My name is Thomas O'Regan and I'm a professional property investor. Here in Australia, I've built an 11 property portfolio over the last 3.5 years between me and my wife. And I just wanted to talk about one of the big differences today between building a neutral to passive cash flow portfolio of properties versus building a negative cash flowing property portfolio. And there's so many benefits. I can't cover them all in this video, but one of them I just want to cover is what is the difference in cash flow in building a property portfolio that is positive or neutral cash flow versus a typical negative cash flow residential property portfolio. Now, generally, if you are looking to buy your first investment property here in Australia, people will recommend, and I don't advise using any of these people that will recommend you buy a house. I won't get into that right now, but a lot of people recommend buying a house because houses go up and apartments or townhouses or villas don't go up. It's completely false, and I'll just leave it at that. But typically, Joe Blow, who doesn't have any investment properties himself, will tell you to buy investment properties that are houses around, say, 500K, for example. You'll go and buy this house. The property will typically be about $10,000 negative cash flow per year, and that's just the standard investment property that either people will buy themselves or they'll get advised to buy. And when I say $10,000 negative cash flow, I mean in this interest rate environment where the banks are offering about 6% interest rates. This $500,000 property, it may rent out for anywhere from $500 to $650. At the end of the day, you're still about $10,000 negative buying one of these things anywhere in Australia. Now, what would happen if you were to buy not one, two, three? What happened if you were to buy 10 of these properties like me and have 10 investment properties, and they're all negative cash flow? Okay, so if they're all $10,000 negative cash flow, you had 10 of them, you would be about $110,000 negative cash flow per year. Now, most people can't really afford 10 or even 20 or $30,000 negative cash flowing portfolio, let alone $110,000 negative cash flow portfolio. And yeah, the truth is, when I started building a property portfolio, I was one of these people buying these houses that were about 500K and negative cash flow. I got to about two, and then I realized the model, like becoming a property investor like this, just wasn't quite right. It wasn't for me. The only way that I could build my property portfolio was to constantly increase my income to afford this massive amount of growing negative cash flow that I was accumulating to hold on to these quality assets that I was investing in. Now, what's the difference between that and the property portfolio that I have today? The property portfolio that I have today, and I will only buy properties that are neutral or positive cash flow. The difference is, in the last 3.5 years, me and my wife have been able to grow our property portfolio from one to 11, and it hasn't costed us a cent. And when I say it hasn't costed us a cent, I mean it hasn't cost us a cent in negative cash flow. The portfolio is neutral to positive, and it hasn't cost us a cent in equity or savings either. So that is the main difference between looking at buying a prop or building a property portfolio with negative cash flow versus building a property portfolio with positive cash flow. So let me just paint this out a little bit more. So basically, the property portfolios or the properties that we are buying are apartments that are cash flow positive in high growth areas, meaning not only do they positive cash flow, but also they grow a lot in equity as well. So meaning we don't have to save up money to use to get capital to buy the next one. We're just getting growth in our properties that are apartments and using that money in growth to purchase the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 11. Now, picture this: 11 properties, all $10,000 cash flow negative. Maybe the property portfolio would be worth, 5.5 mil, but it's costing you, obviously $110,000 a year to hold on to the thing because it's negative cash flow, versus the property portfolio that I have, is positive cash flow. So instead of costing us $110,000 a year, it's probably getting us, and it fluctuates, so that every time we buy another property we have to redo the numbers, but it's positive cash flow anywhere from $5 to $20,000 a year. So it's giving us $20,000 a year. It's growing a lot, and the value of the property portfolio is about $4 million. So that's the difference between building a large property portfolio. When you start looking at the numbers, the big picture, that's the difference. Okay, so if you want to build real wealth, you want to be operate like a professional property investor, you really have to start looking at buying positive cash flow properties if you want to get to that big high level property investor. Hopefully this video helped, guys. See you next time. Bye.